Okay, you got it? This is your brain. This is not you. This is your primitive brain coming up with all kinds of convincing reasons to keep you doing the same old, even though the same old completely sucks. Your brain doesn't care that it sucks. All your primitive brain cares about is keeping everything the same, even if the same completely sucks. Are you getting this? Okay, so this is what happens. And when we can understand that those thoughts, we are not those thoughts. Those thoughts are not being generated by our prefrontal cortex, which is where we do our executive thinking, where we can assign our brain, where the real us can say, okay, brain, you are the most amazing processor and creator that has ever existed in human history. Here's your job. Here's your job. I want us to brainstorm ways to get safe, calm, and happy and get our exercise needs met and have fun, right? The happy piece, right? Like a brain, that's your assignment, right? So your thinking brain, right? Your executive thinking says, okay, cool, because that's the job of your brain. You pose a good question to your brain, and your brain is 100% on a mission to get that question answered. Your brain can't stand that open loop. Your brain is going to answer that question for you. And so we want to ask questions that are aligned with what we want our brain to actually work on. Hi, I'm Kathy Kowalik, and I believe that our dogs connect us to the heart and soul of what really matters in life. So hang out, and we'll take a deep dive into the human-dog connection and explore strategies that will inspire you to create legendary, enlightened partnership with your dog. This is the Enlightened by Dogs podcast. Well, hey, Kathy Kowalik here. Today, we are going to talk a little bit deeper about one particular aspect as it relates to safe, calm, and happy, and that is the way we think about it and the resistance that comes up when we are first exposed to this idea. I mean, our primitive brain starts screaming all sorts of things inside of our head, right? It's like crazy. And so this is what I've experienced, like in the, sometimes in the free partnership workshops and even in our Brilliant Partners Academy and beyond. I mean, this is like a human thing. So if you are human, this is for you. This is how we are. This is how we humans operate. It's part of the human experience. And understanding how this works is how we evolve. It's how we learn to become brilliant partners for our dogs. And that helps us to become brilliant visionaries of our life and brilliant intentional creators of the kind of life that we want to live. And that helps us to become brilliant contributors to the entire planet's ability to live brilliant lives. So it's pretty cool, right? All right. So my head's up in the clouds, but let me come back down and get my feet on the earth, get grounded, and let's talk about this mind thing. Okay, so you guys have heard me talk about we're humans, right? And so we don't have a clue, generally speaking, about how powerful our brains are. And we don't have any idea, generally speaking, about how to use this tool that is our brain in a way that works for us. I mean, it it's crazy, really, when we think about it. All right, so you are not your brain. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. Your thoughts and your feelings lead to your actions, the actions and decisions that you make in your everyday life. And that, of course, is what creates our life experience. And so what you are doing today, what you're thinking and feeling, and the choices you make and your actions today is what is creating your tomorrow, right? That makes sense, right? And so you are the thinker of your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. And if your thoughts create your feelings, which they do, that means that, and if you are the thinker of your thoughts, that also means that you have the ability to filter your thoughts, to understand that your thoughts and your feelings are two completely different things, first of all, and that because you are the thinker of your thoughts, you are the one that can use your brain and your thoughts that lead to feelings which inspire actions to create the kind of life that you want to live with your dogs. All right, so here's what happens. We hear this concept about let's figure out ways to keep your dog safe, calm, and happy, right? And so I might say, okay, well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to make a list of what activities, events, and environments that you can identify that you're pretty sure, like, 90% or more sure that both you and your dog and all parties involved will be feeling safe, calm, and happy. Make a list of those. And usually people are like, okay, I can do that, right? And then the next thing is that I might suggest is, well, what activities, events, and environments cause you and or your dog and other parties involved to not feel safe, calm, and happy? Like what are those? Right. And so that, that's usually pretty easy too, right? So like, okay, well, walking my dog reactive dog on leash in a place where there's a lot of other dogs, that does not make either of us feel safe, calm, and happy. Having my dog run around from window to window to window, screaming at the people that are passing by on the sidewalk does not make either one of us feel safe, calm, and happy. My dog jumping up on the kitchen counter and stealing my food does not make me feel safe, calm, and happy. My dog jumping at me with like the force of a lion pouncing on an antelope does not make me feel safe, calm, and happy, even though my dog is happy to see me and is very eager to greet me. I don't feel safe, calm, and happy, right? I don't feel safe, calm, and happy when my dog is like ripping my arm out of the socket or pulling me to my knees because they are insisting on going to say hi to that person or that dog while we're out on a walk. Okay, so we can usually make that list too, right? Where, okay, this is pretty clear. These are the times when I'm not feeling safe, calm, and happy. All right, now here's where our brain, our primitive brain, starts to kick in and messes us up big time. So now we have lists. And so now I might say, okay, so those activities that that you and your dog love and you both feel safe, calm, and happy, you're going to do more of those. Let's make a plan to do more of those. And those other things, those other activities and environments where one or both of you are not feeling safe, calm, and happy, we're going to stop doing those, or we're going to manage that scenario so that you and your dog don't engage in that anymore. Okay. We're going to break that cycle. So now we start to feel that resistance, and it's something new. It's something different. It's something that our primitive brain, whose job it is to keep us the same, because whatever habits we have, whatever routines we have, whatever we believe to be true about ourselves and our life has been programmed into our primitive brain. And when we decide to try something new, our primitive brain kicks in, our reptilian brain kicks in and says, that's probably not such a good idea. I mean, think about it. Like, is it going to take a lot of extra time to, hang out in the kitchen with your dog behind a baby gate instead of letting your dog scream around the front windows? Isn't it going to be kind of hard to not take your dog for a walk with other dogs? I mean, like, your dog needs to go for a walk, right? I mean, isn't that one of the things that you believe to be true? This is your primitive brain talking to you, sabotaging your entire life, absolutely taking over and overriding what you want to do. And so your brain is saying, yeah, you know that dogs need to go for walks. I mean, everyone knows that dogs need to go for walks. I mean, like, what is the point of having a dog if you don't take your dog for a walk? I mean, really, let's think about that. Like, how crazy is that to even think about not taking your dog for a walk? And even if you were, or maybe not taking, so let's say you say, well, but brain, okay, I hear what you're saying. I know that this is what we used to believe, but I see, Kathy's making sense, and I see her brilliant partners, her members in her Brilliant Partners Academy. I see how their life is transforming right before my very eyes. And they're following the protocol. They're following what Kathy is teaching about living a partnership lifestyle. So don't you think we should try this? I mean, it seems to be working like for a whole bunch of people, right? And then your brain says, okay, well, what do you think that could look like, right? Your primitive brain says, all right, well, let's say that was true. Right? I'm not convinced yet, but let's say that is true. Where do you think you are going to find places to walk your dog or to exercise your dog that are going to allow you to feel safe, calm, and happy? I mean, think about it. You live in the city. You don't have a fenced backyard. Your dog doesn't really know how to walk on a leash. Where are you going to go? Okay, I get that you're going to look for safe, calm, and happy places, right? But how are you going to get there? What is that going to look like? Like, you're going to have to maybe sometimes get up an hour earlier, or maybe go to bed an hour later. Maybe you're going to have to drive to a place. I mean, that sounds like a major pain in the butt. Right? And so this is your brain talking. And okay, so even if we did drive to a place, even if you did get up an hour early, right? Well, what are you going to do if you see another dog? What are you going to do if your dog sees another dog? What are you going to do? And there aren't any places. You don't have time for this. When do you have time to enjoy your life? You don't have time. You're busy. You're a busy woman. You don't have, right? Okay, you got it? This is your brain. This is not you. This is your primitive brain coming up with all kinds of convincing reasons to keep you doing the same old, even though the same old completely sucks. Your brain doesn't care that it sucks. All your primitive brain cares about is keeping everything the same, even if the same completely sucks. Are you getting this? Okay, so this is what happens. And when we can understand that those thoughts, we are not those thoughts. Those thoughts are not being generated by our prefrontal cortex, which is where we do our executive thinking, where we can assign our brain, where the real us can say, okay, brain, you are the most amazing processor and creator that has ever existed in human history. Here's your job. Here's your job. I want us to brainstorm ways to get safe, calm, and happy and get our exercise needs met and have fun, right? The happy piece, right? Like a brain, that's your assignment, right? So your thinking brain, right? Your executive thinking says, okay, cool, because that's the job of your brain. You pose a good question to your brain, and your brain is 100% on a mission to get that question answered. Your brain can't stand that open loop. Your brain is going to answer that question for you. And so we want to ask questions that are aligned with what we want our brain to actually work on. And then when your primitive brain kicks in and says, yeah, you're going to find something and then something's going to get messed up, or you're going to find this place where there's hardly ever any dogs. And then the day you go, there's going to be a dog. There's going to be a meltdown. It's going to suck. And you shouldn't have even done it in the first place. You should just go on your regular walk while your dog lunging and barking and screaming the whole time while you're like gearing up for shoulder surgery. I think that's better. Right. That's literally the dialogue that's going on in your head between your two brains. Okay. So which brain are you going to employ to change your life? Which brain are you going to say, hey, I'm going to assign you the task to make our life brilliant, to help me and my dog live an amazing life starting like tomorrow. That is your job. And let's do this, right? And so when we ask that kind of question, we start asking those kinds of questions. And so like in BPA, I tell our BPs, even if you're a starting partner, because we have that scale or stages of partnership, right? So we have starting partners, developing partners, promising partners, brilliant partners, master partners. All right. So even if you're a starting partner and you're just learning how to live a partnership lifestyle, the question that I invite my BPs to ask is, what would a BP do? How would a BP think about this? How would a BP equals brilliant partner, how would a brilliant partner approach this challenge, right? And this opportunity to learn and grow, that's what BPs do. Okay. So you may or may not be a BP. If you're not, why not? I mean, next time I open, come on in, join us. We are doing brilliant things, and our lives with our dogs are completely changing. Okay. Anyway, so that's what happens. So that's the dialogue that happens in our brain, right? So our primitive brain, our reptilian brain, is designed to warn us, if there is a cave lion lurking outside of our cave and we better not go out, right? So it goes back to the old days when that's really the only place we operated out of, because we were living in a continual state of trying to survive, right? But that's not the case anymore. We don't need to live like cave women anymore. Okay. Maybe sometimes we do, but for the most part, we don't, right? Okay. So now you understand how your brain works. Now you're going to say, okay, so brain, here's your assignment. Come up with some ideas for alternative activities that I can do with my dogs that will keep us safe, calm, and happy. I want you to come up with alternative places to walk your dog that may be triggered. Maybe your dog is just overexcited. Maybe your dog is reactive. Maybe your dog is fearful, anxious, whatever, right? in certain situations. Brain, I want you to brainstorm some ways in some places that we can truly enjoy life together starting today, right? And so you have that power. You have the power to assign a particular executive task to your executive brain and then follow through on the ideas that come out of that, because that's where all the creativity comes from. That's what brilliant partners do. That is what loving leaders do for their family group. Okay. Your dog is relying on you to do that. And when you start to do that, everything starts to change, like boom. I mean, like starting tomorrow, things start to change. So that's what I want you to do. Start looking, for some alternative places. I mean, we have members that are so creative, walking in cemeteries and graveyards, looking for yards and buildings to rent, going to fenced tennis courts, going to state or federal parks off season or in backdoor areas that the public doesn't even know exist. Early mornings, late evenings, weekends, whatever, right? Industrial parks, playing hide and seek at home, chase me games, searching games, finding toys, bringing home nature, setting up a mini parkour with broomsticks and chairs and cushions in your backyard, fetch games, trick games, have a picnic together, have your dog help you with chores, turn on some music and dance together, read to your dog, whatever. I mean, you see where I'm going? So there are so many ways to actually tap into our creative brain that will change everything. And I love this quote from one of our longtime BPA members, Jane, and she wrote to us in the group. She said, I've had to be creative. Well, let me just say that her adopted rescue dog was very reactive and triggered by just about everything. Other dogs, people, squirrels, etc. And it was in the yard, out in the world. It was very difficult, right? And so Jane wrote, I've had to be creative as to places to walk. Large graveyards have been one option. I've even bought tarps and covered gates in show rings at county fairgrounds to create a safe place to run free. But what I've learned, and this is the important piece, but what I have learned, Jane says, is that it is not the place that is important. If I am content and calm and treasuring this time together, it doesn't matter whether we're on a wonderful trail or just in our living room. Wow, there you have it. So that's what I want to leave you with today. Think about that. Begin to understand how your brain is functioning. Begin to understand how your primitive brain is going to be throwing very seemingly convincing and logical and hard to deny reasons and excuses to keep you doing things the same, right? Understand that that is the job of your primitive brain, and the job of your executive brain is to actually design your life and to not allow your primitive brain to have access to designing your life, because your primitive brain does not design your life. Your primitive brain keeps your life exactly the same as it is and doesn't care if it's any good. That makes sense, you guys? All right. So I hope that this deeper dive into our brain and how we think about things and how we can get tripped up and how we can be so resistant to, being safe, calm, and happy, and what to do about it. All right. So I hope you found that really helpful. Let me know. Leave me a comment. Let me know how that's working out for you. And I will talk to you next week. In the meantime, be brilliant. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening. And hey, if you would like to work with me so that I can help you discover the missing pieces you need so that you and your dog can finally be happy and enjoy life together, then head on over to dancingheartsdogacademy.com and request your invitation to join us in the Brilliant Partners Academy when the doors open for the next enrollment. See you next time, and remember, a brilliant partnership with your dog makes your whole life brilliant.